I say a moment that I noticed a change in you after your participation in RTA is probably it's probably multiple moments, not really just one. I think it's how our relationship developed after not being able to really connect with you like early on in my life, and then when I started going back up for the visits, and you started connecting with me over drawing and like the visual arts. And then when I got more into writing music and stuff, and you were giving me feedback, and you were teaching me things that you learned in like your acting workshops and like everything that you were just learning, you passing on those tips to me. I feel like that helped us connect a lot more. So not much of a change, right? Because I don't really get to know the old you before you went to prison, but I do know the version of you that I got to see growing up and how that was able to impact me. So I would say RTA kind of helped us connect because it kind of gave you that side of yourself that you said, you didn't really know before you went to prison.
I did notice a big change in me when I was attending the program, and I often talk about it a lot. And it's a time that I was auditioning for a role in a play called Midnight, and this particular character had was heavy set, so I had to carry like a fake stomach. But what that did for me and the teaching artist at that time that was coaching me through it was John Bedford Lloyd. And I think what that did for me, it allowed me to leave myself and try to see myself in another character. Um, I think it helped me more with empathy. And as far as our relationship, like you mentioned, I learned a lot of skills in RTA, and when I learned that you was into music and performing, and I shared with you the tools that I was learning, it definitely uh, um, strengthened our relationship. But I feel that having the experience I had where I had to see myself not, I had to see part of me in different characters, allowed me to be more understanding of your childhood and growing up and trying to be present for you in a way that I feel no one were for me growing up. And in that sense, um, I feel that just having a space where I could go and break away from the prison culture and that burden of just always having to carry a straight face, a place where I could laugh and all of that, definitely made me more aware of myself. And I could see how it definitely helped our relationship. And for me, it always feel good to hear how, being involved in a program helped me, but I was able to pass that on to you, right? And hopefully you'll be able to pass that on to your kids or other people around you. And I know that you do with one of your good friends. So it's for me, I learned skills that I was able to pass on to you, and now you are able to pass on to a friend of yours, who hopefully he'll pass it on to other people. So it's more of being in a space where it's building us up by allowing us to find ourselves or part of ourselves that maybe for whatever reason we were disconnected or maybe we just didn't know we had. How I joined RTA was I was taking another program that was like kind of structured to prepare people to attend college and prison programs. And one of the professors there suggested that I look into the arts. I already knew that RTA was in the prison because I've attended a few plays in the auditorium at Greenhaven Correctional Facility. But when he said that, at that time I was also exploring just painting and drawing and things like that. And I knew a good friend of mine who was doing the back stage for RTA for the plays. And so I approached him and asked him, if I join RTA, will he allow me to help him? And he said yes. So I basically joined RTA so that I could paint, get the skill of painting large scale, because the drawings I was doing that was pretty small. But what made me stay in RTA was the exercise that they were doing on stage before each performance. I just saw unity. I saw people laugh. I saw people different from how they carry themselves every time they walk in the hallways or in the yard. So that's what made me stay in the program is to see people just not kind of be kids, but be kids, in the sense of just letting themselves go and just act a fool if they wanted it to, or just feel free.
So for me, like my perspective was a little different, right? Because you joined around like 2013, right?
Yeah, I think, yes, it was around that time.
Yeah, so I was like 12. So I think that's like kind of right before we was able to like really put the phones on and like talk like that. So I didn't really see you get into art because even like little things growing up, like I remember you were kind of already doing it. I remember I had a big painting that I think one of your friends had did with the moon and the stars and everything in my room. And you like would do cards and stuff like that. So I was always around you kind of doing art. But it just kind of like kept transforming. And honestly, when I was younger, I didn't really connect it to RTA that much. Like I knew there was the events. I knew like the Austin Library Art Show. I went there. CBS News was there and it was talking to me about you. And I didn't really put together at that moment like how big this was gonna be. I just knew it was something that you did. You were passionate about it and you were good at it. And RTA kind of like facilitated that for you. But now, if we fast forward to when you came home and all the things you've done since you came home, the art shows, Katona, Yale, UNH, and it's like you're actually living your dream of being an artist and getting paid from your artwork. And I feel like RTA was like that stepping stone to get you to do something that you wanted to do with your life coming home. Because I feel like you had, like the incarceration was an unfortunate experience. So you had years of like just doing things that you didn't want to be doing, being told to do, and not being able to live how you wanted to live. So now seeing that you're able to come home and live how you want to live, I feel like that's a beautiful thing.
So to add to that, right? I often tell people I didn't become an artist in RTA because, like you said, I've been creating art since probably like a few weeks after I got arrested, right? That's how I was able to just get away from my reality of being incarcerated. But what RTA did for me goes deeper than that. And I always, again, have to go back to that moment where the teaching artist, John Bedford Lloyd, worked with me because RTA allowed me to get to know me, right? Inside and understand that I had built walls to survive prison. And it just gave me tools to break down those walls, right? So in that sense is how RTA worked for me and allowed me to become a better father, allow me to become a better artist, but just a better human being because now I was able to empathize, I was able to connect with my own feelings. Like I'm a huge fan of the arts because of how it works for me, right? And not mainly just the art that I produce, right? Because yes, I produce art on canvas, on paper, and all sorts of material, but the art is coming from within me. And I feel that I'm able to travel within me and my subconscious and just produce art that thankfully most people enjoy is because I was able to introspect. And the workshops that I did in RTA allow me to look within. So in that sense is how RTA allowed me to come out here and have everything that you just mentioned and participate in all these events. And even right now where we're filming, I'll be starting grad school here at Purchase, right? Within a week and a half from now. So all of that was and started the moment that I did join RTA. It was all stepping stone leading to this. You know, when I got arrested in 1995, I was facing the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole. And so the jury found me guilty of a lesser charge, but nonetheless, I was sentenced to 28 years to life, right? So I was very bitter. I was very angry. And I met someone at the county jail that said, this is how you survive prison. And he gave me a book. It's called The Prince by Machiavelli, right? And I read the book, I studied the book. I feel that a large part of me became the book. But what happened was, and going a little bit back, is by being this stoic person, this person that don't joke around, that don't show my emotions, it just put me in a place where I built a lot of walls, and I wouldn't let people come into my circle. I just didn't trust too many people. And RTA kind of like little by little, by being in a circle, what we call in RTA the go around, where you have a lot of individuals sharing how they're feeling, what the challenges were at the time or what's going on in their life, and seeing men that are known to be dangerous in prison just break down and share their life. It just gave me the confidence to also do the same. It gave me it just gave me it provided a space where I wasn't feeling judged. I wasn't feeling that I had to be someone that it wasn't really me to survive. I started feeling lighter every time that I left RTA and I went back to myself and I would just reflect on what that experience was. I felt lighter. I felt like a huge burden was just being lifted off of me. And that's what it did for me. It just, I feel that it helped me find my humanity in a place that is designed to take it away from you. I feel that those experiences in those workshops and just being around like-minded people that were all there to work on themselves just gave me more confidence. I felt good. I felt light. I felt like I wanted to be there more and more and more. And I was there so much that I just, eventually moved up to the steering committee, and I sat at the steering committee for a long period of time. And that's how much I believed in the program and what it was offering.
I would say the things you learned in RTA definitely helped you connect with me more. And I think also, too, as a byproduct of that, it's almost like I went through the workshops myself because it helped me connect with myself. Like going back to making music or writing music, I'd tell you something, you'd be like, okay, that's good, but what are you saying? And then at first, I really couldn't tell you what I was saying. And he was like, you got to look in and see what you're trying to say. And you got to say things that you believe in, things that are true to you. And I feel like going through that process with you helped me have to like really reflect. Like a lot of times I get the people just tell me like, oh, wow, you're so mature for your age. And I feel like a lot of that comes from our conversations. A lot of you telling me, just guiding me, giving me guidance from behind the wall and still being able to parent, and then helping me connect through art and just helping me be more introspective, asking me tough questions that I wasn't really getting asked nowhere else. If I give somebody a song, they're like, yeah, that's fire. And like, all right, cool. Even you telling me how to accept criticism from people. Don't just listen to it's good or it's bad. Why? I feel like that helped me connect more, and you always gave me like honest feedback. I always knew that if I went to you, I was gonna get the truth. And I feel like that's something that really strengthened our connection because you can't get the truth from everybody, and sometimes there's reasons that people don't want to tell you the truth, whether it be to protect you or to protect a version, like an image of themselves in your mind. But for you, I feel like we always had a transparent relationship. I was always like, I knew what I was getting. And I feel like that helped like strengthen the bond that we have, even to when you came home. Like, I don't know, I feel like we didn't really skip a beat in that. It's It's definitely a different relationship now because it's less restrictions and it's just more obstacles that we couldn't have imagined, just talking on the phone. But I think all the tools and everything that we both went through the years with each other, I think that prepared us for these moments to even be able to sit here and have conversations like this. And I see your skills too with like networking with people. A lot of the things you were able to do is because you were able to communicate and talk to people and network and get people to join your movement really. And you inspired people to want to help you because they seen that you changed through like programs like RTA, getting education, and seeing like that change and that beacon of light within you inspires people to follow you and help you just get further. So I feel like all of those things are skills that art, and I think it just goes back to RTA being a stepping stone. It helps prepare us for the future, for our family connections, and it helps prepare you to be in a better spot coming out of prison where you can have more stability, more comfort. And then once you become more stable, you have more comfort, our relationship can only grow stronger because there'll be less things in the way that's trying to keep us apart.
I like that whole what you just said, right? And I think my experience with the arts, whether it's performing, writing, or visual arts, is that it reminds us that all of those things are in us, right? And I think that when we separate ourselves from the arts, whether it's the ability to tell stories, uh, um, or to perform, right? Like they said, the world is a stage and we're constantly performing, right? And to understand that at every stage we perform differently, but just to be aware, right, that every stage demands a different part of you and that all of those parts are within you it's a great thing. And RTA for me did that, right? It allowed me to understand that I'm like a vessel, right? And as a vessel, I have a lot of me to give, but also to receive. And I was able to receive a lot from everybody who participated, who was in our membership, right, in Green Haven. But it's that, right? To me, the arts just remind you, like, you could be a storyteller, right? And you could sing. You may not have like the best voice to sing, but so what? Sing anyway, because it's gonna make you feel good, right? Or don't compare your art to nobody else. Just do it and see what's there for you and how that make you feel, right? And it's always those words that I always heard from a lot of teaching artists. How do you feel? When you say it like that, how do you feel? How does that sit with you, right? And having the experience of reading a line out loud, maybe soft or whatever, it give you different experience, right? So RTA and the teaching artist that goes in there always ask you questions like, how does that feel for you, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're going to perform, you're going to perform the best way that it feels for you. But if you have different experiences on how things sit in you, you're better equipped to perform. But that's something that we could apply everywhere, right? Whether we're having a conversation with our loved ones, our friends, or our business, or whoever, right? And when I was able to understand that, it allowed me to connect with you differently, right? But always also share those things with you, as you mentioned, right? Feedback is great, but it becomes better when you understand a person's where the person is coming from. But at the end of the day, you take it or you leave it, right? But it's always good to kind of understand how when you perform, when you show up, how does that sit in other people as well, right? And to me, it just boiled down to the simple thing that art is within all of us. And if we could learn to not separate art from our daily lives, then we could just become better person and be more aware and show up differently, but always with our best.
Yeah, I think seeing you go through RTA, and you working for RTA is full circle. I mean, you were the one to send me the job posting. So, and it came at perfect timing. So I was getting ready to graduate, and I'm applying to a whole bunch of different jobs, trying to just get a marketing job somewhere. And like the typical job search, like nobody gets back to you. You got to send a million applications, and you might not even hear that they're not even looking at your application for maybe one person. You get one email, you're excited, and it's a no. So that was rough. But then you sent me RTA. The more I thought about it, I was like, this makes a lot of sense. You know, you went through the program. It's a big part of your journey and how we connected. And also, I've been part of RTA even before I officially worked here. I've done video for the gala. I've always had a great relationship with Charles. So it's like RTA has kind of always been family for me and you. So it just made sense like when I started working here. But one thing I appreciated about when I actually started this job, I realized how important it is because I was hands-on. And I didn't realize how much I took for granted being younger and just seeing things around me, but not really taking it all in. But I seen it work for you. And I know, like, I don't personally know who you are before you got arrested, right? But I know people that do know you. And I heard who you were before and I see who you are today, right? So I know that it made a drastic change in your life. And I know that it's done that for other people. So seeing that it really works, it makes me feel good about being able to come to work, do my job with joy, do my job with passion. And I think it really sunk in last year during Thoughts of a Color Man at Greenhaven, because I've been going to Greenhaven my entire life to go see you, you know, and a lot of the people that know you know me because you always talked about me up there. So going up there and seeing a lot of these dudes that I heard about or that heard about me, and then seeing them in RTA and just seeing how they felt about the program, how they performed, how they carried themselves, how they all embraced me like I was their nephew or something, just off the strength of you and your relationship with everybody. It really connected for me, like this is truly a family. It's a big extended family. And like the connections that people build here are real. Like they transcend the prison walls. They transcend barriers that you guys would have put up if you weren't in the same room together with RTA. I hear a lot of people say, I wouldn't really talk to this guy if it wasn't for RTA. But that's because you put up a wall in your mind, you have preconceived notions of who this person is, and you get to know the person, they're more similar to you than you think. And people start to get along. So I just started to see that more and more, and I became like more in love with the work. And I'm grateful that I have this job. It came at the perfect time, and I feel like it only makes sense. And I feel like I'm the best person to market RTA because I've seen it. Like I've seen it firsthand. And I could like bring this testimonial with me everywhere I go to kind of advocate for the program.
To me, it has been great to know that you are working in RTA, because I always said to you, you have to be around like-minded people, right? You're an artist, and you just have to be around people that you could learn from and back and forth, right? But also, as you know, when I go to different places to talk, I advocate for higher education in prison and the arts, right? I believe that higher education will give us the critical thinking tools that we need, right? The skills to just think critically about life and just everyday things. But the arts, right? The arts give us that emotional intelligence that we need, especially in prison, because some type of trauma led us to make poor choices to end up in prison, right? And if we're not able to process those traumas, then we're liable to come back, right? So it's a combination that I believe, it's like I often tell people, is bringing IQ and EQ into a conversation, and hopefully having the IQ and the EQ engage in a conversation where it become a community. And RTA does that, right? With different workshops, whether it's memoir writing or play reading or improv or whatever, or us going back and writing our own monologues and things like that. It just allowed us to search within, and then questions. Like, I'm a fan of questions, right? So to have you in RTA and getting involved with social movements, to me, is a highlight. I believe that the best way to end prison is by filling it up with higher education in the arts, right? Once we are able to give these skills to the people there, that they could process their trauma and learn how to critically think, there's a huge chance that they're not going to come back to prison, right? And if they don't come back to prison, then prison don't have to be around anymore. So I'm glad that you're part of RTA. I'm glad that you're learning. I'm glad that you're bringing yourself to RTA and your skills. And everybody who work around you, they're very proud of you and they love that you're there. So to me, it makes me very proud to have you there. I think you're a good listener, an observer, right? And, I think that the world moves so fast that we could just get lost in it. But when you take time to listen and to observe and see other people and make them feel that you're seeing them and that you're hearing them, you are able to connect. And again, everyone who come across you always tell me that about you, right? Aside or how talented you are with the camera and the videos and the music, but just who you are as a person, right? And I often tell people it wasn't me, it was his mother. His mother was the one there raising him. I was just from a distance, right? But even to be apart from a distance, to contribute to who you are as a young man, like I love it. I love where you're going. I know that your future is bright. I know that. I know that you grind hard, and it's only a matter of time. So to me, I'm very proud of who you've become.
Thank you. Send me that clip. I think I'm the most proud of just everything you've accomplished, right? Like I don't think I know, like it's a tie between you and my mom for who works harder, and you guys are neck and neck. Like I don't really know anybody that works as hard as you, and you always got something going on to the point where it makes me feel like, damn, I've been here my entire life. You've been out for going on 3 years, and look at everything you've done. You got a Yale fellowship. You graduated with your bachelor's from Bard around the same time I graduated, which was surreal. All these art shows, all the commission pieces, the fact that you're going to pursue a double master's at Purchase, like you accomplished so many things, and you appreciate every resource that's given to you, and you take advantage of that, and you teach that to me. But I'm just so proud of like you just have a drive that you kind of just can't fake it. Like it's just in you. And it's something that you always push forward, and everybody sees in you. And I feel like that's why people are gravitating towards you. And it's just the way you carry yourself, it just makes me proud, right? I get to see you speak, show your artwork, go do these panel discussions, pursue your education, and everything just makes me like, damn, that's my dad, And who would have thought that we would be sitting here from where we started? So just seeing everything that you've accomplished, even though you shouldn't have accomplished anything, that's how they would make you believe, right? That you shouldn't be here right now, right? So the fact that you are here, like that makes me super proud. I think it takes a village, So there's a lot of people that play a role. Like my mom is also an artist. She does poetry, and she works hard, and she had to work hard, to put me in position. And you work hard too. You worked hard in prison to make sure that when you left, you would never go back. And where that comes from, I can't really say. I think it comes from struggle. I think it comes from having no other choice. Like a lot of the skills I learned is because if I didn't learn how to do it, it wouldn't get done. And I needed it to get done. So I feel like when you come from nothing and you just have to really rise out from out the gutter and try to figure out how to get it yourself, I feel like you just become a more resilient person, a stronger person, multifaceted. I feel like everything that we accomplish and the hustle and the drive that we have, I think it comes from not having and just the necessity to go get it because it's not going to be handed to us.
I could definitely agree with all of that. For me, after I got sentenced, I made a promise to myself that that's it. I was done with a life of crime, right? And I knew that I needed to learn and educate myself in many different things. And so, like you said, I did my best to take advantage of every program that was available that I felt would help me reach a goal. But when it came to art, um, I don't know where it came from because prior to getting arrested, I wasn't creating art or anything like that. It wasn't even in my horizon or anything like that. But I think, and you know, you said something about it takes a village. I think that when I was younger, I was encouraged to do all the negative things. But when I started creating art and people, my peers in prison was appreciating it, it made me feel good, right? Um, it made me feel that I'm bringing something that I don't know where it was coming from, but it had a positive impact on other people, and that just kept encouraging me on. But it also allowed me to escape prison. Whether I was doing leather work, woodwork, ceramic, drawing, painting, just didn't matter what I was doing. It allowed me to escape. I was no longer in prison. My body was there, but my brain was just somewhere else. And I was just curious. And, you know, once I felt that this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life, then I just started learning more and more about it. And but I wouldn't be able to do half of the things that I've accomplished without the village. It's just people from all over the place willing to see me succeed, see me in a place that I never thought I could be. I never saw myself very far ahead, but others did. And one person that I always credit for that is another teaching artist. His name is Patrick Collins. He would come into the prison, he would put his hand on my shoulder, and he would tell me, my brother, I love you. My brother, you're talented. My brother, you're going to do a lot of great things when you come home. And just hearing that from him, and again, in a place that you don't hear encouraging words, it was like a drive for me. You know, and of course, always the not having and having to prove yourself because you don't come from a privileged background and all of that. For some, and I'm one of them, it is a driving force, right? It just made me want to go out and keep doing it. I didn't really have a childhood because I jumped from one household to another household. I didn't have parents' role model. And when I realized that, I said I need to take parenting courses. I need to take things that's going to allow me to become the parent that I didn't have, right? So to anyone who's incarcerated, or even it's not and it's out in society, I would ask them to like think about the things that didn't work for you as a child and how could you offer that to your children, right? Or just any young person that you're around, because a lot of us a lot of times find ourselves mentoring other people that's not related to us, right? So where can we obtain these skills, right? For me, again, the arts played a huge role in it. You know, just being around creative mind, just being around people who wanted the same thing as me, right? So that will always be my message, right? Is don't forget that you was a child at one point, but think about the things that didn't work for you, right? And where can you go and obtain it so that you can have a healthy relationship? What does that look like and sound like for you? And for me, it always looked and sound as you have to hear people, you have to hear yourself, you have to just be willing to put yourself in a place that sometimes doesn't feel comfortable, but it's for the better of you and your family, right? And take your time because the world moves very, very fast. In prison, it doesn't. So I guess that's part of what allowed me this time to really think and introspect. But it's that, find yourself in a corner or in a place where you feel uncomfortable, but in a good way. And the arts definitely challenged me because when I first joined RTA and they had the circle and they was doing certain dances, I was like, I'm in prison. I'm in a max 8 prison. I'm not doing that. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. But I ended up doing all of that and more, right? It's just, it's okay to feel uncomfortable, but if it's all for the right reasons, right? And it's okay to just say that we all could keep growing.
I guess the advice I give to like other children that have a parent going through like a similar process, just be patient, and understand that they're kind of going through something that you might think you understand, but you kind of really don't. Like I said, I didn't really even get how, I knew RTA was powerful, but I didn't know how powerful until I worked hands-on and I started seeing how this machine operates. And like looking back, I kind of wish as a kid I paid more attention to that, and I saw things a little bit differently. So I guess my advice would just be to just be patient with your parents, understand that it's a tough experience for them and it's a tough experience for you, but we all grow through our tough experiences and our traumas and stuff like that. I think the relationship that you'll get at the end, as long as you stick the course, you have patience and empathy for like your parent or your loved one, I feel like once you kind of get through this moment that is incarceration, I feel like you're going to have a bond that can't be shattered. Like, I feel like there's not going to be anything that can come between the relationship that we have. And I feel like that would be like applicable across the board. I think patience is a big thing, understanding, which is hard because, we're supposed to be kids, but these are the cards that we're dealt. And with these cards, I think the best thing we could do is just listen, pay attention, try to help as much as we can, and tell our parents that they're doing a good job so they can have that motivation to keep doing a good job.
I mean, I don't know what it is to be a child of an incarcerated parent, right? I don't know that. I know what it feels to be a parent, an incarcerated parent, and it's something that it just weighed heavy on me the whole entire time I was incarcerated, right? A lot of my drive was also you, right? How do I better myself so that I could offer better me to you? And I don't know, honestly, that I would have been able to reach that the way that I have if it wasn't for the space that RTA provided, right? And just the people that at that time was volunteering, that they had no business going into prison, but yet they made it their business to go to prison. And for me, something that landed very heavy was that most of the people that volunteer wasn't of my skin tone, right? And I was like, where are the people that look like me? Why aren't they volunteering? But then I also learned that people that look like me don't have these great jobs that they could just take off and go and volunteer in prison. But it's just that is I could only imagine how difficult it is for a child, right? To have their parents in prison and just prison is so heavy. It's just designed to not build that connection. It's kind of designed to destroy that connection. But the arts allow us just to think of ways to keep the connection, and you talked earlier about letters and drawings and all these things. And I'm glad that I did those things, because how hard is it for a parent to send their child letters and drawing but not get anything back, right? And as a parent, I would say it's okay that the child is not writing you or sending you anything back, but it's okay that they're getting something from you, right? And they will eventually write you and do these things, because a child is a child, and a child will do what the child, the child has their own lives, right? But also, parent has to be patient, right? Because you talk a lot about like the child being patient, but also the parent needs to be patient and understand that incarceration is not easy on anyone, and patient could go both ways.